Approve of the minutes from 6/17/19.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Citizen comments? Anybody? You want to hop the fence, be a citizen? Comments? No? Okay. School programs? No, you're good. You're good?
It's August, I guess there's probably not a lot.
School programs right now. I told my family this would be a long meeting, so I'm just saying. All right, early childhood ed update. We do have something on that.
Yes.
Yeah. Abroad.
As you know, we have been working with the town select board about the small library. After quite a bit of investigation and research, the board has kind of pulled their support back due to the Protestant Christian Association, or whatever that board is, that has some language that has to do with them not being allowed to sublet it to anyone.
Mhm.
So they've pulled back their support and will not support the school using the library at this time.
I have a question about that. Like, how does that work with it being a town-owned piece of property? The old library, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Did Jess send out, I only
Yeah, I
have
have
one
it
copy,
here.
but did Jess send out the language from the PCA agreement that says they'll use it for certain purposes,
It says-
blah, blah, blah. The town shall not be permitted to
Yeah.
lease the library to a third party for any special events or functions without permission from PCA, which we sort of already knew, but they have interpreted that as they're not going to approve this after meeting with both the PCA group and concerned citizens, which she references in her email.
And I would absolutely defer to the selectmen on that one, whatever they say. I mean, to me, it's their ability to manage. The only question is how do we frame the use of the building? And as Jess had said a couple times, that the school would take the building and kind of govern its use versus what if they just allowed us to use it? That's kind of a moot point when I consider it anyway, because I kind of have to constantly go back to the idea of, the safe and secure campus and buildings that are not on our campus. How do we ensure their safety?
And that was John's concern about, he felt strongly that we would need to control access and internet and phone and all of that to have it be safe and secure for
Yeah,
students.
which, I mean, using it as a library, occasionally is one thing, but it's being used, if it's a school trip, I mean, to me, like, even like going to the current library, not that that's a school trip per se, but it's not something that we use every day. So, I mean, it's like, we're going there and coming back. It's to use a building that we'd be using as part of our academic environment. That would be more of a daily thing. I just don't see how having a building off campus that we can't control is a smart idea for us anyway, from a safe and secure campus standpoint.
Well, it doesn't align with where we're going with security at this point. So then there's too many hurdles to jump foreseeably, especially if they're not willing to help us and partner with us.
Well,
And they're not.
It's
So,
a moot point anyway.
Right,
If
so-
they don't want to use it,
right.
they don't want to use it.
right.
I just question, how is it framed that we would be using the building? Were we talking about taking over the governance of the building and use of the building entirely?
I think that was the concern of the concerned citizens, was that in some way the school use would impact knitting use and things like
Their
that.
story time, French class.
Even though we assured them that just like we schedule this, we'd just work out a schedule, and whatever was scheduled to be there would still be there, other than the one day a week that we would have library. But we also would need to store all our materials and have computers and things that would live there. It's not like we can run back and
I
forth.
think the impression of some of the people that use that building was that the school was taking it from them,
Right.
was the messaging that I got from the community.
As they say that they can't use this building.
Right, it's the same as
Right,
here.
it's the same group
Right.
of folks, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So now it's back to the drawing board. per se.
Well, we, both Jessica and I kind of talked and felt like we've exhausted most of our solutions other than additions or,
Right.
unless something changes,
Right.
that at the moment, there's no real way to have a preschool, and we'd like to kind of table it for the rest of the year, at least until we have a better option to look at.
Okay. All right. We may want to bring it up a little bit more in detail at another meeting when there's more people here, just to kind of close the loop, so.
Yeah, because I know that it has shown up on our agenda every month,
Right.
and that's kind of what we were talking about in terms of we're not, she and I would not recommend we continue to move forward with it, so in that case, it should probably come off the agenda.
All right. Well, let's leave it on one more agenda,
Okay.
just so that we can make sure that we have good communication, like we've been doing with the citizens when the school session is on, in case they have more questions. I'd like to make sure we have a close loop on that for them.
Yeah.
All right. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
And then Jessica would be there, she's been the liaison with Barbara Campbell,
Right.
so she might have more information to add.
Okay. I'd feel more comfortable with that. Okay, cool.
I'm not real wild about the idea of taking it off the agenda at all. I mean, it's, unless we're just literally giving up on the issue, because to me, the next step is if we've decided as a board and as a school community that we can't fit it in our current campus, we haven't gone to the town with that yet and say, the other option is going to incur significant expense. Is that something the town wants to do? I'm not willing to come to that conclusion unless I get feedback from the community. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of having a listening post at some point in time about the preschool and saying, hey, we've exhausted our outlets here. We don't see how it fits into our current campus, which means our only options are to have some sort of significant expense. We can lease a building somewhere else in town or somewhere else in Bartlett, or do we have discussions with Bartlett about having a joint preschool somewhere that's not all the way over in their current campus. I mean, there's other things that we can do and explore that we're not actually haven't really done. And mostly from the standpoint because we're trying to budget this in a way that, is more palatable to the taxpayers, but we haven't really gone with the idea that, listen, preschool's coming down the pike at some point. And, it's going to probably be mandated either by the state or federally at some point in time. And if it's something that the town should be providing, then we should figure out what that is. And if it means making a significant investment in another building or other options, and at least that's something I do want to get feedback from the community on, so that it doesn't come up as a surprise like a year from now or 2 years from now, like, hey, we still want to do preschool, and by the way, it's going to cost us $500,000 this year. We need to be a little bit more, I think, methodical in how to go about that. I'd hate to see it come off the agenda now and say, okay, we're not going to really consider preschool anymore. It just doesn't seem like the right thing to do, particularly for this community where we know that at least half of the community, if not more, is in strong favor of us doing a preschool. Well, if we need the reality to us, okay, but that's going to cost us, we need to invest $400,000 in a building, on this piece of property in order to see that happen. Maybe the town isn't as keen on it, maybe they are, I don't know, but without getting feedback from the community and having a process for it, then I don't think we're doing due diligence.
I don't feel comfortable with like the old library ending the conversation.
Right.
That's how it feels right now.
So what if we leave it on the agenda, but give Jessica a break and ask for, maybe someone who has more contacts with the selectmen and stuff to kind of work with the selectmen and go to the town?
Because I don't mind starting from scratch on the whole thing, like doing away with the committee and then looking at other things. I mean, I've had people asking, well, why don't you do an addition on the school? Why can't you get the second story going again? Why can't you get the basement going again? I mean, there's other options that we haven't really looked at.
Well, we did look at the basement. We did look at the basement. But
Well, we were asked to come up with a plan
Yeah.
that didn't include the basement. I mean, that was
That's
my
what-
original
that's why I
recommendation.
wrote it, right, mostly.
That would likely still work.
But yeah, I mean, I'm all for that, but I think then let's make a charted plan. Either we can do it now, tonight, or we can do it at the next meeting, when Jessica's here to
When we
give
have
her
the
some
full board,
buy-in.
and we have people here, I think it might be a little bit, we might get a better sense of where we should go and what we should
Yeah.
do. But I don't want it off the agenda yet.
Okay.
So certainly for not the next meeting, I'm not even going to be after that, because I don't see how we just end this conversation now. I don't think that would be the.
Well, I think you're right. I think we should
Yeah.
go with another plan.
I think after not moving it forward last year, we owe it to everybody to have something for this year.
So we've exhausted what we originally set out
Right.
with our parameters
Right.
at this level, with this proposal. So now it's somewhat back to the drawing board with the knowledge of what we have uncovered so far, to go back to the town and to take a different strategy. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But I think we need to sort of end the one that we were confined with of what we were looking for, and then state to everybody, this is the new direction, and we're more open and moving on from there. And also giving Jessica a chance to take a bow out if she wants to for a little while. So, is that fair to you? Okay.
But thanks, Gail, for
Yeah.
all the
thank
work
you.
that's been done.
It does take the time to pull all the presentations together and do the budgets over and over and over. And so it's what's 4 times, I think.
Yes.
It feels like, a little bit like, okay, maybe it's time to give it a rest for a bit.
Yeah. Just back up.
But we'll do whatever you as a board decide you want to do.
Yeah. Okay. Tuition contract? Good?
It's the study committee is meeting, you can give me the date, September, or is it this week? There's upcoming study committee meeting, I don't know, it's probably on the SAU9 website, I don't have the date.
Okay.
In that they will be doing a presentation to the SAU9 board, which is meeting on the 12th of September. So then it'll just be each individual board deciding what kind of research they're gonna want to do. And it's on track.
Okay. Instructional issues?
None.
Oh, good. Personnel actions?
Yes,
Ooh.
so we passed out to you a 7A that was not in your packet. Over the course, Gail has been looking for a school counselor here for the Jackson Grammar School. She has been unable to find a certified, qualified individual to fill that position. As a result, she ended up having conversations with Mr. Yana over in Bartlett. They were able to work out a plan where they would be sharing services using Baking Hill as you had in the past. So the recommendation is to consider approving an agreement with the Bartlett School Board for guidance services in that way. So we ask that you vote tonight if you want to do that or not. Bartlett has not yet voted on it. That will be on their agenda, which is September 3rd, I want to say.
And how much time is it? Half-time or?
It's ends up being 1 day a week.
It would be 1 day a week. She had a few more hours. She had 10 hours previously,
Mhm.
and she was paid not through contract with Bartlett, but on our own pay scale and budget.
Okay.
Joe has agreed, and they've worked on their schedule to free her up 1 day a week for our use. We're still negotiating the schedule a little bit with days and times
Mhm.
to try to get something that works well for both schools, but she'll be able to cover the classes and some crisis work. The counseling issues, we might use local providers for to
Mhm.
cover that end of her position. And the 504 and special services coordination will be between Jenny and myself. We'll make up the difference with that.
I'd make a motion to approve the agreement with Bartlett School District for guidance services.
Does it end, if we approve that, does it end the search, like this is
No,
our?
that's what I was
agreement
gonna
for the
say.
year?
I would like to have
Or
it
do we still
reopened.
pursue finding someone that's gonna be suitable for the position?
I think we'd stick with Victoria for the year, but
Right.
continue to look for the following year, yes. This
Okay.
wouldn't be a permanent arrangement, our hope would be to have our own person. And, you know, it may work out that in the future, we have the family liaison position
Right.
you're talking about. There are a number of other options that I think are on the table that we could look at.
So this might work out well
Just
for
as
the
a-
year.
As a 1 year to get us through till we finalize those other.
Okay.
Anybody second my motion?
Second. Can we talk about it?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Do you want to repeat everything you said? or-
No, I mean, it seems like this is our only option. I just kind of hoping Bartlett agrees to it. I imagine that might be a little bit tricky, or do you think that they'll agree?
I think that they will agree with Joe's recommendation.
It's temporary.
It's in, you know,
And it's a good year to do it, if we're gonna do it, because it really puts the fire, our feet to our fire, our feet to the fire.
Oh, this,
For this
I
type
would,
of solution. Something like that.
we should need our feet to the fire.
We should,
To come
but-
up with other things. I mean, this is kind of separate from that. We need a guidance counselor here, and it looks as though, you know, we can, you know, certainly.
it's
Yeah.
very difficult to find qualified certified people in some of these specialty areas in the valley.
Yeah.
Especially when we're only offering a part-time position with no benefits, no one's gonna move.
What is the hours of the position?
It was 10 hours a week,
Yeah, it's really tough.
so it doesn't include health or life insurance, it's not enough money to get an apartment alone by itself, you know what I mean?
Okay. Approve?
I'm for it.
Okay. Budget status report,
It's in your packet.
good? Any questions? Everybody good?
Yeah.
All right. Transfer between funds? Good.
FYI.
All right.
Yeah. That one, I mean, we're pretty early in our year to be transferring funds. I didn't look at this, or maybe the details don't matter too much, but is this kind of just a technical thing between one service to another that
This is an
our line
IEP.
items don't really cover very well, so that's why it's happening, sort of thing?
Based on what I see for the description, there were funds that were budgeted for extended school year that were not spent, that are being allocated to provide speech and language services for a child.
So, it's from last year's budget?
Right.
No.
Well, it's
July.
from the summer program,
Summer.
which is over. So our ESY services were provided, there was money left in that line, so it's been moved to another line.
So it's,
Right.
that was my only concern.
So it's
because
not
we're
needed for
off
ESY.
early in the year to be transferring funds, but if it's for services
It was
that
from
would have been
in
finished
July.
anyway, then
Yeah.
very good. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Superintendent?
Yep, like I said, we do have the SAU 9 full board meeting coming up on September 12th, 6 o'clock at the Conway PD Center. One of the items for discussion at that meeting will be the strategic plan. The strategic plan right now is set to expire in June of 2020. There were members from the original steering committee who have met a couple of times, and the conversation that they've had is really working to make this more of an SAU 9 strategic plan rather than just one for the Conway School District. That was brought up at the executive board meeting a couple of weeks ago. The executive board members want to bring that to the full board to see if there are people who would be interested in kind of this becoming a broader plan and getting someone else from different boards as part of the steering committee. Like the last time, it would be still, you know, all the community members are going to be invited to all of these sessions, but just to have input on that steering committee. So that will be on the agenda. And the other thing, just to share, Kevin asked me to pass these out. The end of July, we used Title IV-A funds that were actually allocated across Conway, Jackson, and Bartlett. The administrative team had worked over the summer, over the last school year, and identified some different needs. And based on those needs, decided to run a 2-day summit on social emotional learning in trauma informed schools, which was in Pine Tree at the end of July. We had 175 registered people plus 15 presenters over 2 days. And the feedback we received was incredibly positive, with everyone rating it either excellent or good. 100% of the people rated it either excellent or good. And with a variety of presenters, and exceeded the expectations of 63% and met it of 36%. So it went really well, and
So is any of this going to be trickled down into the school, or, I mean?
it's already part of
Okay.
it. Yeah, this was an opportunity for educators to come together and really kind of develop for more skills.
Okay.
There were teachers from all of the schools.
Oh, great.
Katie and Siri did a great job of pulling together the program and recruiting and getting the word out, so,
It's a tough time of year, too.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you.
it went well, so that's just some information on that, and that's pretty much what I have. Gail?
So I have the data from the summer program. It was a small program this year, probably the smallest one we have. So we had 15 in our largest week and 9 in our smallest week. mostly younger kiddos. So I've broken out the grade levels of the students, how many students were from Jackson, how many students were from out of town, and we also did a survey and got positive feedback. This year, like in last, in case you wanted to know what the themes were, here's a copy of the brochure, which kind of spells out what the themes were. We did 2 field trips again this year, one on Tuesday to White Lake for swimming, and then the Thursday was, we attempted to get to the
what, I'm sorry?
the theme of the week.
Oh, right, okay.
Which you can see in the brochure, the camper core, the makerspace, etc.
Do you think that the increase in the cost to the parents did anyone mention that as being prohibitive in any way?
They didn't, and we scholarship just about everybody who makes a request.
Yeah.
So, other than the out-of-town, we don't,
Right.
scholarship the out-of-town kiddos, but any Jackson child who wants to come can come for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was this, what was the attendance at the Bartlett, do we know?
I don't-
Just as a comparison, the local.
I do know there were a handful of our Jackson kiddos that did go to that program rather than come to this one.
I didn't know if theirs was down, just in general too.
I think, well, there used to be waiting lists, very
Right.
long waiting lists in Bartlett, and when they had a long waiting list, the parents would register for us.
Right.
They haven't had a waiting list for a number of years, they have open slots.
Okay, so it's just down.
And there's a lot that happens in this valley now, there are theater camps and Tin Mountain.
Rec programs,
Yeah,
several
all
rec
different rec
programs, yeah.
programs. So there are a lot of options. I know some of our parents who've worked in North Conway have used the North Conway rec because they can walk over on their lunch break and
Right.
it's right there. So there are a lot of options in the valley. I'm not sure the cost made that much of a difference. It could have.
Would you say it probably has more to do with the population of age levels? I mean, it's usually 3rd graders and below that kind of attend, right? You don't get a whole lot above 3rd grade. And if it just happens to be that that's an age group that they don't have a lot of kids in, then I don't see how, the attendance really shouldn't really weigh in on the success of the program and what
Right,
it does.
that's true that we have the bigger classes at the younger ages now, so that does make sense.
Great. Well, thank you. Yeah. Overall, went well?
It did.
Yep.
I've been, giving some thought to different ways. I don't know if you recall the year that we had some of the teachers come
Mm-hmm.
and do a week-long kind of seminar.
Yes.
So that the activities, the young folks are great, they have a lot of energy, but they don't have the experience with connecting to the curriculum and bringing in a lot of the multisensory activities and things. So I'm looking at ways that we can strengthen it.
Mm-hmm. And I know that some of the local older kids, at 7th and 8th grade, maybe even higher, or come and help out as well, right? So there was a
They
couple of local kids.
didn't have a CIT this year.
Oh, okay.
First year in a while that we haven't had someone that wanted to do that. None of our 6th grade going to 7th grade, we offer them each year the opportunity to come as a counselor.
Which is nice, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's worked out great.
All right. What else we have? That's it? Oh, ESL, they did that principal, citizen comments again? Anybody? No? Board member issues? Do we have any?
Set date for the next meeting, September 16th,
All right, anything else?
6 p.m. here.
Teachers come back?
Next Monday, we do the full the teacher workshop day down at the SAU, and then on Tuesday, the Jackson faculty are doing an SEL retreat.
Oh, nice.
With Mr. Hastings helping us out with that. We'll be off-site and talking about trauma-informed and, social, emotional, yoga, balance.
Oh, cool.
Things that Brian's been working with his Conway staff.
Right.
And we'll be asking a small team of teachers who are interested in pursuing the work to do more reading and get more involved in trying some of those strategies here in Jackson. So it won't be whole school work, but there'll be a small group
Okay,
looking at it.
great. All right. All right, are we looking good to start the year?
Yes, we are.
All right. What's our enrollment look like?
It's a little low. I'm guessing it's around 46.
Okay.
We had 2 new young ladies registered today, so,
Marcel is,
no.
no?
No.
They said she's coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right? Their oldest of the young ones.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
sure her name's on this list, but I'm not sure exactly what it is because I haven't seen the printout.
Okay. All right. Do we have a non-public?
We do not.
Good.
Motion to adjourn?
Second? Third, Katie? All those? Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Can you sign this down?
Yeah.